on the History Channel.
Class athlete, and to millions of Americans, he's a hero. To us, he is a Veteran of the Year. He lives his life with vision, fortitude, and integrity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, here to present the Veteran of the Year award to Mr. Chuck Norris is General John W. Handy of the United States Air Force.
Thank you, James, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here tonight to participate in this magnificent ceremony. After all, this is one of the nicest parts of my job, and that's recognizing an airman for his outstanding service to his country. Airman First Class Chuck Norris was an outstanding security policeman. One of his commanding officers called him, and I quote, "one of the truly outstanding airmen in my unit." Another described him as selflessly giving of his off-time duty. This same person reported that Airman Norris frequently spent his free time instructing others in karate and unarmed defense. And perhaps in the mother of all understatements, he added, in which he is an expert. It's this type of service, this willingness to give of himself, the benefit of others, that we celebrate him tonight. Mr. Norris took off his Air Force uniform in 1962, but he never lost his propensity to serve. The foundation he created, Kick Drugs Out of America, is providing critically needed direction and motivation for young people who might otherwise fall into the trap of drugs and gangs. His work with United Way helps make a difference in lives all across America. He also takes time to remember his fellow veterans who have not been able to enjoy the same good fortune. During the national salute to hospitalized veterans, Chuck Norris displays in a very visible manner the bond of brotherhood that those of us who have worn our nation's uniform feel for one another. I'm extremely proud of the men and women who serve in the United States Air Force and our sister services. And it's especially rewarding to see veterans continue to serve our great nation after they leave us. I'm honored to present the AVA Veteran of the Year Award to Mr. Chuck Norris.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure to be here tonight. This is an incredible honor. And it all started back in 1958 when I graduated from high school, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I talked to my mom, and I said, "Mom, I'm thinking about going into the military because I don't want to go to college. And maybe I can find what it is I'm seeking when I get into the military." So I joined the Air Force, got into military police. Primarily, I was thinking about law enforcement in the once I got out. And so I got into military police in the Air Force, and fortunately, I was sent to Korea. At the time, I didn't think it was fortunate, but it wound up being very fortunate for me because I really didn't know what. I didn't have any real sense of direction as an 18-year-old boy, and I didn't really know what I wanted. And when I got to Korea, I got my first witness of the martial arts. I'd known of judo, but I'd never heard of, it was called Tongsudo then, now it's called Taekwondo, but I'd never heard of that. And so I joined a judo class the first day at Osan, Korea. And 2 weeks into my training, I broke my shoulder. So I said, well, there goes my judo training. So I've got my arm in a sling, and I had nothing to do. So I went walking out into the village, Osan village, one day. And as I'm walking through the village, I look up on this little knoll, and I see these heads keep popping up. And I go, I wonder what's going on up there. So I walk up there and I see these Koreans jumping up in the air and spinning in the air and kicking, and I go, holy mackerel. I can't believe the human body can do that kind of stuff. And I was really interested in it, but they looked mean. So I went back to the base and I asked my judo instructor, I says, what is it those guys are doing out there? And so he says, it's Tong Sudo, you know. I said, well, you know, I'd really like to take that. Since my arm's in a sling, maybe I could practice those kicks. So he took me out and introduced me to my instructor, Mr. Shin, and I started training in it. And I thought, well, you know, this would be good. You know, if I get into law enforcement, this would be a good thing to know. And so I started training, and amazingly, one of the fellows who I trained with in Korea is here tonight, Joe Weeks. Joe is, I haven't seen Joe in 37 years. And I want to thank them for bringing Joe down here tonight. You know, with my military background, and knowing what the military did for me as a person and how it really structured and gave me a focus in my life, I really wanted to do, and plus I had a brother in Vietnam who was killed, and I wanted to do a movie in his honor. And so I went up doing the first missing in action movie of the POWs in Vietnam, where I went and rescued them in Vietnam. But then I had one where I played a prisoner of war. So I wanted to do that one very badly, so I went up doing playing a prisoner of war. And then the third one, of course, I read about the Amerasian children in Vietnam called Children of the Dust, so I went up doing a movie about these children. And then I wound up doing 2 Delta Force movies, one co-starring with Lee Marvin, who many of you may know was a Marine, and it was really an honor working with this man who was an Academy Award winner. But I've had an honor of meeting many military people. I've been very, very fortunate, and I cannot express how gratifying this award is for me. And I want to thank all of you, and God bless everybody. Thank you.